everyone, welcome to another Tim and Yoshi show. It has been, I think the last one of these was right after the election, the day after the election, where we broke down some information pertaining to that. But anyways, what I want to talk to you today was two things. One is going to be about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. The other one was going to be on some big changes that the Federal Reserve made that pretty much have gone almost unreported. And I think, the beauty about these shows is that, I've got no notes, I'm not looking at anything. No, there's really two main things I want to talk about. We'll see where else we get to in this rambling. It's just, there's a lot of things I want to say, but, having, just taking out a camera and saying them, sometimes it's better for me to just go on a walk and not say anything, which that's what Yoshi and I do about 95% of the times. But today is not one of those times, so you guys are in luck. But anyways, this news about the Federal Reserve has almost not even been news, and I haven't really seen it talked about pretty much anywhere, unless you're going and seeking this stuff out like I am, and maybe like some of you guys are. But the Fed, what happened is in March, when everything was melting down, they decided they were going to, since they weren't allowed to buy corporate bonds, they created these special purpose vehicles, or SPVs, to basically create these shell companies. And then they borrowed money, and the Treasury basically lent these shell companies some money, and the Federal Reserve was having a backstop running this whole thing. Actually, I guess, the Treasury was the one that really had the backstop, because if there's any losses, it would be the Treasury that would bear those losses. And, that was even in several documents, stating that the Treasury was in a first loss position. I first brought that subject to Janet Yellen, where, now look what we have here, out in the wild, we have a mask, so, of the deadly coronavirus, and the former coronavirus capital of the world over here in, the Maricopa County, Arizona, and outside of Phoenix. But yeah, getting back to the Federal Reserve. So what is going on now is that, I believe it was the Senate, and it was Senator Toomey. They basically put handcuffs on the Fed and said, go underneath the little tunnel, guys, so hopefully you can still hear me. You probably won't be able to see me for 10 seconds. But what they said was, 9 out of these 13 programs are not allowed to basically exist in the future. So you can't just go create a clone of one of these facilities without, our permission first. So now it's going to take the Federal Reserve, rescuing the, economy, and I'll put rescuing and economy in quotes, because it would be more appropriate to refer to it as bailing out financial assets or the stock market. So before they do this again in the future, they've got to get, permission. They can't just go and start buying up private assets. Now, it's basically debatable whether or not they're even allowed to buy government bonds. Somewhat debatable if they're even allowed to even technically exist, but they certainly weren't, as part of their charter, allowed to go buy up, individual corporate bonds. And so if you can have, an entity like the Fed that just makes up money on a keyboard that they never had to begin with, and then now they use that made up money to then buy a real asset, then now they own something that they got for nothing, and that we owe interest for our hard work, time, effort, and money to them, which then basically makes us nothing more than slaves to these central banks. And I'm not, actually using hyperbole with that. Merry Christmas. And so, getting back to the Federal Reserve, what they're doing with these new series of or lack of programs is that next time, there's a big market calamity, the Fed's not going to be able to react in the same way they did. Now, I didn't think that they should have reacted in the way that they did anyways, so I'm not going to be crying over that. But for everyone that, sailed through 2020 and they, maybe lost a bunch in March, and then they got it all back, assuming they didn't sell, then, assuming you were just like an S&P 500 fund, or you were in, one of the FANG stocks, or a MAGA stock, which would be Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, Alphabet, throwing that one in there too. But then, you get into FANGs, you throw in, Facebook, Netflix into the mix as well. And so, outside of those companies, a lot of the companies have not really been hitting, all-time highs or 52-week highs, but certainly those companies, if you rode them out, you rode out those indexes, then you'd be having a good time right now. But if you didn't really know the underlying reasons of why that is, why we are in this situation, then you might be a little bit too cocky about how things are going to play out in the future, because this time it is a little bit different. Because, and it's funny because when I talk about Bitcoin, I'm going to talk about how this time things are a little bit different, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I'm trying to switch hands over here. But what we are witnessing now with the Fed in this go around is that now they are going to be able to backstop, I believe, credit cards. There's a trouble asset relief facility, or TELF, that's still going on. They're still going to be able to backstop the just blanking out over here, student loans. I think I said the credit cards already, and some other of more of the consumer retail finance stuff that should actually more benefited toward the little guys. So it's I guess for once they're actually concerned about the little guy here. So I guess that's that's cute of them to actually pretend like they care. But it's probably only because the little guy being able to pay their bills then pays the bills to the big guys. So I don't want to give these guys too much credit of what's going on. But let's say the world starts melting down again after Sleepy Joe Biden gets in there, or Kamala Harris gets in there. Then what are they going to do? I mean, then they might then wait for it to get bad enough to then let it truly crash, so then that way they're able to then rebuild it back in their own image. Now that is a classic technique from the two professors at Columbia, specifically Obama's, or at the time I think he was actually being still referred to as Barry Soetoro, and that's not some wild crazy conspiracy theory. That's actually fact. If you guys want to go and fact check me, not that you guys are the ones who are fact checking me on this, but Cloward and Piven, it was a husband and wife team, said that the best way to basically reshape society is to collapse society by overwhelming the welfare system, overwhelming the basically all the entitlements, and then when everything collapses, you then get to then remake it in your own image. And so, I mean, to me, that's pretty much exactly what's going to be going on. And so this all then ties into the Great Reset of, I mean, they really are going for broke. And so, yeah, I mean, there's some sort of, illness going around and people are getting sick. I had it in the first week of January. So, Happy New Year to me. Happy New Year to my ex-wife as well. So, I mean, that definitely sucked, and I don't want to minimize it. I still have pretty much no sense of smell, even to this day. But there also has been some benefits, I guess, to getting the coronavirus as well. I mean, to me personally, I'd always had stuffed up noses my entire life. I mean, even had really bad allergies my entire life. And I'd say the last, 5-6 years that I started eating healthier, maybe even the last 10 years, the allergies have gone down big time, like huge. They've subsided massively, but stuffed up nose was always there. The runny nose, that stuff was always there. And ever since the coronavirus, which I presumed that I had, as I was laying in bed shivering for 2 days on end, didn't take a single thing for it, just sweated it out, and who knows, it cleared my body, and now my nose is almost never stuffed up. This entire year I haven't had a single really stuffed up nose, which has been incredible. No runny noses. It's my entire system has just felt cleared, and almost have never felt better. I mean, minus the I can still taste stuff, but I can't really smell nearly as good as I could before. And not that I could smell super great anyways, because my nose was always stuffed up. But it's weird because now I can't. I mean, I can if I put my nose right to something, or it's something very pungent. I can smell that. So I don't want to say it's it's very weird how in some respects it's almost like I would take getting that again in order to have the benefit of now not having any more stuffed up noses. Now I'm not saying that was just me. I'm not saying that that's going to happen to you. And because I was in decent shape when all this, I was in really good shape when all this stuff happened. Had a weakened immune system at the time because of New Year's Eve and having an open bar wedding till 3 a.m. all you can drink at a family wedding in New York. And then getting on a plane. But my immune system was down, especially coming from this beautiful 70-degree weather that we have over here to, upstate New York was freezing. Certainly, I think that was the major catalyst, not really anything else. And being a young, healthy guy who, as you see here, all Ironman triathlete at the time, I was probably still doing about 12 hours of cardio a week at that point, which, I guess isn't like a ton, but, it's something. And so, yeah, it definitely kicked my ass a little bit, but, it was really bad for 2 days, and then I felt really sore for about a month or two afterwards. Like my muscles felt really fatigued and really weak, and I definitely didn't have, quite the same stamina that, I usually have. And I usually have, like amazing stamina. So, the fact that I was getting like winded just walking around was, pretty incredible. Because you guys see me doing these videos when it's like 110 out, and I'm still not like out of breath, or I'm still able to function. But getting back to the Federal Reserve, this go around, what's going to happen is now I do suspect that at some point the Senate and the Congress will then cave and then allow these programs to happen, institute themselves. But maybe it means that the market has a 50-60% drop this time instead of 34 in the S&P 500, or like in 2018 when they reneged and everything, it was about almost 20% on the S&P. It was like 19.99, maybe it was 20. It was right around there. But I don't expect the market crash to last long, because I do expect them to come in and start buying up everything yet again, because the entire world is basically built on a Ponzi scheme, on a derivative bubble house of cards foundation, where I touched on this earlier, but the first dollar that you put into the system is based on debt. So the money that you have in your pocket, I don't have any money. I got my phone in my pocket, which my phone has crypto on it, so that's even better, in my opinion, not financial advice. But that money, that's in your pocket, is based on debt. So you always have to have debt in the system. And so as assets that are tied to debt start losing value, then all these derivatives start blowing up, and this whole carousel, the bubble has gotten so big that they can't even let it go down for like a week or two, substantially, because the whole system would implode on itself. And so if people are like, oh, well, Tim, you're just saying this, and everything bounced back just fine. Okay, yeah, it only took them printing, the Federal Reserve doubling the size of its balance sheet, going from like 3.6-ish trillion to, I don't know where it's at now. I think it's like 7.4. You guys can leave it below in the comments. But anyways, it's over 7 trillion now. So they doubled the size. They literally had more assets get added on to the Federal Reserve's balance sheet during, 6 months of this year than they did for every other president in America combined. Let's repeat that. More than every president in America combined. Is that winning? Is that, we're going to get so sick and tired of winning because we're going to be winning so much? No. It sounds like losing. And that's going to have major ramifications going forward. And so the thing is, this is going to have to keep continuing in these multi-trillion-dollar deficits. I was laying out some bad scenarios, especially this was in an Aaron Capocco Q&A session last year, and I even said that Bitcoin, during the initial stages of a financial crisis, being a risk asset, would probably lose 80%, and everyone thought that was blasphemous at the time. That video, I believe, is not on YouTube. John Snyson taped it for me, but he stopped, because we went straight from my Aaron Capocco talk right into that one. They were back to back because I was the last speaker, and unfortunately we didn't have video from that. I know Jeff has the video. I don't think, it's part of the reason that you go to these is that you have access to this information, or you buy it online. So I'm not selling it or anything, but that was a benefit for the people who were actually there, that got to hear those dead on prognostications of what was about to go down. And I talked about how, because of, and this one was on the Aaron Capocco talk, how because of the fact that about half of the investment grade bond market was one notch away from junk, that what would be happening next time was March, like a month later, I didn't really think it'd be a month later, was that the Fed was going to have to come in to buy all these corporate bonds, because what would be happening is if you were a corporate bond index fund or ETF, and now all of a sudden, the bond in your portfolio isn't rated as investment grade anymore, and that would mean that you would then be forced to sell that asset, and then that forced selling would then create a wave of other forced selling, and it would create like a Mad Max scenario where the entire thing would blow up. And then I was talking about the Fed would have to come in to buy, trillions of corporate bonds, and that ended up happening. And this time, it's probably going to be delayed happening. And so, which then more people, as it goes on, maybe instead of for a month, maybe even if it only lasts 3 months, you might see a wave of people just selling, and then they're sort of out of the game at that point. And if you're out of the game and things go back up, well then you're definitely screwed. And so if you're close to retirement, I think there are some different strategies, especially with some annuities out there that I like. You guys can go to thelibertyadvisor.com and schedule with me, except you probably can't schedule with me for another few weeks because I'm busy taking care of current clients right now and prioritizing them, and really, I've got a backlog of things to do. So I'm not really beating down anyone's door right now to work with me. So most financial advisors, if you call them, you're going to be, harassed probably 100 times in a row, and we have a whole team of people, harassing you to get you to work with them, but not over here. So it's sort of the opposite, where I've got the people who, there's enough people at any given time that want to work with me that there's somebody that's right there. And so if anything, it's actually a con, I guess, of working with me, that there's I'm not going to necessarily beat down your door. So if you're not super serious about it and just want to talk, I'm looking for people that want to do stuff, not for people that want to talk. And so for the people that do want to do stuff, I've got to get ready to help them prepare for what's coming. And you still do have some time to prepare for what's coming. And part of those preparations, I think, does involve buying Bitcoin. Now, most of the Bitcoin videos I made, I think I first started talking about with Ernie on air when it was around like 800. First started paying attention to it around $1, but I certainly outsmarted myself, without a doubt. So I just read Creature from Jekyll Island when it was, around $1, and, without a doubt, outsmarted myself, and was thinking that things just had to be hard money, and was thinking it could be, a mark of the beast digital control grid, which it can be, and they're certainly going to be using the technology for that. And so, but what you have to understand is that it's going to be digital no matter what. Everything's going to be digital. There was just a story I saw today where China released another, and I forgot what province it was. It was like Shuzhou, or the last one was Shenzhen, where like 2 months ago they did this program where they, everyone got like $30 equivalent in yen. I think it was like 200 yen in China if they signed up for this app, and the app was going to be a digital, basically the Chinese, digital yuan. And, for the chance to win $30, which, during a depression, means something to people. And so they had a lot of people who signed up for this, millions. I think it was like 2 million that signed up for this. And then now they also enticed, hey, if you sign up for this, you can have a chance to be entered in our lottery. And you can also have a chance to, it reminds me of like a Hunger Games or something. People just selling themselves out for basically nothing. You could win free laundry for a year. And I'm not even joking, like that was what I read today. You can win free laundry for a year. And it's still early, it's like 9 a.m. over here. So, every morning I read in bed, and at night I'm reading, and during the day I'm reading, and I'm constantly reading and reading and reading. So, it's just, it's coming. It's definitely coming, and the fact that this entire monetary system is built on a Ponzi scheme, and that they're just going to keep having multi-trillion-dollar deficits, every single year. Maybe we'll have some accounting gimmicks one year where we might not have it because they do something, but I think we're going to have trillion-dollar deficits as far as I can see. And then as we start printing more money, as these Fed facilities that were temporarily shuttered, as they come back online, it's just going to be more and more money printing, which I think would then lead to, in the long run, a higher price on Bitcoin. But don't just go out there and speculate on Bitcoin if you know nothing about it. I haven't made it yet And at one point I had links to other people's videos, and I had sort of created my own crypto course, but I'm going to create like an actual proper one that's going to be for sale, because I go to parties and every 5 seconds someone's stopping me and asking me about cryptocurrency, and it's certainly something that I'm passionate about, is helping free the world. But I see a lot of people that are more interested in basically making money than they are freeing the world, and to have these I just can't have these conversations every 2 seconds for the rest of my life. And I think what I'd like to do now is create a course, and people can go through the course, learn how to store it, learn the philosophy of it. And a lot of this stuff you can actually find if you just go to my Picciott channel, or go to the libertyadvisorshow.com, and then there is a link in there for Picciott, and then one of the sub playlists in my Picciott is another channel called the Crypto Wealth Show, where I don't know, probably had like 40-50 episodes dedicated to crypto. I mean, I would definitely watch the first one on there to get like a lot of the, I covered a lot of ground in that first one, and so I'd highly recommend watching that one, or pretty much watching a lot of them, just to have more understanding. You should learn how you want to store it, what a hardware wallet is. Don't leave your money on an exchange. Don't leave all your money on a phone that has some sort of two-factor authentication tied to your SMS text message, because you can be SIM swapped. Don't fall for and I get these, like, I'm getting multiple of these threats a week where people will say, hey, your Ledger device or your Trezor or your Exodus or your whatever has been hacked and you need to click on this link. Well, don't click on the link. It's a scam. They're never gonna, and then they want you to give up your private keys. And there's other people who it's not really to any fault of their own, besides fault to them, keeping all their crypto on their phone or on the exchange. They get their SIM card swapped. Just had a good friend of mine last week who, one of his friends who was new into crypto and had I think a considerable amount of his savings were in crypto. I don't think it wasn't a guy that had a lot of means, from what it sounded like. And the amount that they lost was a big deal for them. And so if there's an amount that is a big deal for you, don't keep it on your phone. Don't keep it on an exchange. And then the other thing is, maybe it's not a big deal to you now, but maybe you forget about it, and 10 years from now your $1,000 is $500,000, and now that is a big deal, but then somebody stole it. So there's a lot of ways where you can get tripped up on this, on the crypto merry-go-round. And a lot of the videos of when I was, coming out and talking about this, is I wanted to focus a lot more on when the price was down. So, I was out there as a financial advisor making videos after Bitcoin had crashed in 2018, and talking about, why I thought I was very bullish long term. And it's easy for all the Johnny-come-latelys to come in at 26,000 and tell you how you should buy and how you're going to be rich. But it is a fact that quite often Bitcoin does retrace 2/3 from its high. So aka you lose 66% of your money if you sell. But if your first inclination isn't wanting to buy more, then basically I think you should be really taking a hard look at whether or not you should be in it in the first place. So if Bitcoin ends up being down 80% and your inclination isn't like, oh crap, I wish I had more money to throw into this right now. If that's your inclination, then okay, well, then I think that's a good attitude to have. But if your inclination is, oh my God, it's gonna go to zero and this was the worst decision ever, then I think you aren't really ready for this. And it's because of those weak hands, because every time there's new people getting into this, and as there's new people, there's what are referred to as weak hands, and then those weak hands sell out to the stronger hands, who then come in and end up swooping it in. And I'm not really one that really buys and trades, and not really making tons of different trades. But what you should do, and unfortunately, I wish, in hindsight, I didn't do this. But when I started getting into it, in early 2017, I basically knew everything about it before I got into it. Knew like what a Merkle tree root was, knew all the history, knew some of the players behind it, knew some of them personally. And that's when I made a move, before it was in the media, And then I saw all these people that knew nothing about it except for the fact that they get rich off of it. And a lot of those people started trading all these different altcoins, or better known as shit coins, and started losing all their money. And and this is something else I guess I want to bring up. Ripple has been in the news, and it seems like when people first learn about conspiracies, what they do is they, maybe they learned about QAnon, and that kind of woke them up. But they didn't realize that QAnon was sort of a psyop. That sort of is a psyop. I've been calling it as a psyop since day one because I've been deep in this, conspiracy game for a long time now. Super well researched, and it's not even about time. It's like, what have you done in that time? And what I've done over that time is, to catch up to me. Why don't you just, research, 5-6 hours a day for a decade plus, and then come get back at me. But by then I'm already, I've done the same thing for another decade. So and I've got a great memory too. So it's, I'm not trying to say, hey, and the thing is, the most important thing is just do your own research. And so a lot of people with Q, it was, oh, look at this other guy who's doing all the research for us. So really my involvement in all this was never really, hey, look at me and definitely trust everything I say. Don't trust anything anybody says, all the time. Now someone like, James Corbett and Dan Dix and Richard Grove are, 3 guys that I usually, trust everything they say. Maybe Ernest Hancock, throw him on that list as well. But even that, I'm gonna, not just blindly trust everything they say. I'm gonna go look into things and research things. Whereas Q was like, I'm the authority and we're the authority, and don't ever really question this because, we're the white hats and this is definitely true and legit. And so people that just got into the space were immediately getting psyoped into the wrong thing. And then people that just get into crypto, find out about Ripple and like, oh my God, it's, 30 cents. I'm not sure what it is right now. It's something around there. And what if it got to be, where Bitcoin's at? We're going to be, since we're able to buy so many more, we're going to be super rich. Not realizing there's 100 billion Ripple, of which, half of which are owned by the Ripple Corporation. Not to mention that you have 100 billion Ripple versus 21 million Bitcoin. So, you're not comparing apples to apples. I made one video on Ripple before. It was only like 3 minutes long. Then my feed cut out and it ended with, I hope if you're buying at this level, it was around $3.40 at the time. I hope you lose, all your effing money. And that's what would have happened to you if you would have bought Ripple at that time. So, I had, a person that tried to basically sell her home and use her proceeds to put it into Ripple when it was at a level that, probably a little bit higher than it is now, but, wanted to do around 60 cents and basically had to get rid of her as a client because I'm like, listen, I can't have this on my conscience. Even if it was Bitcoin, I think, for this person would have been a bad move, just relative to, what they had in assets versus the risk and understanding that they had in this asset. And so far, it would have been a great move listening to me. Not that I'm always right, but in this case, it was definitely the good move, for her would have not to be done that. But, you get into crypto, you find out about Ripple, and sort of like the same army of, people that are susceptible to QAnon, I feel like are the same people that are susceptible to Ripple. Now, there's some people that know this and are just in it to make, a profit, or in it to make a good trade, and that's one thing. That's fine. If you're kind of dancing with the devil and sort of know what the deal is, but then there's other people out there that just will hook, line, and sinker defend to the death Ripple. And I'll just try to find that video that I made on it. I don't even think it's even on my YouTube. It was a Facebook Live, and then it was on like an old website that I was running. So I'm gonna have to go dig that one out of there. But yeah, don't let friends invest into Ripple. Now the SEC is saying it's a security, and so if that ends up being the case, then it might be stop getting traded on certain places, like certainly like regulated exchanges, like like a Coinbase or something might drop it. And this is speculation. I know the Crypto 10 Index Fund, they recently dropped Ripple last week, but they were only around for like a week before it happened, so it wasn't like a huge deal for that one. But it's but yeah, and with Bitcoin, I'm reluctant to say, jumping in at an all-time high. Probably what your best bet is to do. Let's say if you wanted to put 50,000 in, maybe you put 10 in, and then over the course of the next year, you put in a little bit every month, or if it drops below 10,000, then you get in more heavily. But but if you're not careful, you can lose it all. I mean, I know my friend's friend lost all of his a week ago. I mean, this is a real life case, and I explained to him what had happened, how it happened. He had been SIM card swap attacked, which is where somebody calls in, AT&T or Verizon, pretends to be you. They then get the SIM card swapped over to their phone, and then when they hit a password reset, it goes to your phone, but your phone is now their phone, and then they reset all of your stuff, and then now get access to your crypto exchanges. And thank you for playing. You just lost all of your Bitcoin and all of your crypto. And this stuff happens time and time again. It's really unfortunate, and it's just people who get into things when they don't know, not knowing costs money. So not knowing how cryptocurrency markets work, costs you money, and it can cost you time. And I've spent a lot of time and years, into this, and so having someone's insight like mine, is something that is valuable from the perspective of you have to know that these things do go down a lot, and you have to know how to store them, and you have to know how to play the game safely, and you have to know how your heirs can inherit them, and you have to know things from a tax perspective, and you have to know things. I mean, there's a lot of things you have to know in this. But if you just want to get your feet wet and start with $50, okay, if you lose $50, you're probably going to waste it on something stupid anyways. But and then if your $50 goes down to 25, okay, well, you only had $50 at stake, and if that wasn't something that's for you, then it's better to start small and learn it. And then also early on, look at how to transfer it from one wallet to another wallet. They can both be your own wallets, or have a relative get out their wallet. And actually, right now with Bitcoin, the fees are very high to send, so it might not be the best case to do it right now. Now, for a deeper discussion on fees and transaction fees, I would reference a video called Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash, which was made about 3 years ago. Actually, almost exactly, probably 3 years ago, during the 2017, late 2017 run up in December. So you can find that on my Crypto Wealth show on BitChute. So just go to thelibertyadvisorshow.com, look at the BitChute link, click on playlists, and you'll find those up there. But yeah, to send one of these altcoins might cost a penny or 10 cents or 20 cents or a fraction of a penny, but to send Bitcoin could be $5 or $12 to send. So you want to send somebody $10, you're not going to spend $10 to go send them $10. And so that there is use cases for some of these other smaller currencies. That's a whole another rabbit hole that could be its own hour-long discussion. I've already done it, so we'll just reference that other video that we have. But yeah, you should learn how to send it, and that's also a big eye-opener for people. And again, I really watched that first video I referenced with, and actually I think it was titled something like "What is Bitcoin?" How to store it, the Bilderberg connection to it, and it was the first video that I made on it. Specifically, I had mentioned it in other videos before, but that was the first one before I even had I think that was before I even had a YouTube channel, before this YouTube channel even existed. So yeah, certainly, at an all-time high. I'm not going to make any guarantees and say if you're buying right here, they're definitely only going to, that's only up from here, because that's not realistic. It does go, if you buy in at 26 and you can't handle it seeing it down at 10, then you shouldn't be in it, or you should try to wait. But, the better thing to do instead of waiting would be a dollar cost average in, because I remember when it was at, I also remember when it was at 100 and went down to 30, but I remember then thinking it was expensive, and then I remember it was at 1,000, or it was 1,200, and I was thinking of waiting till it got below 1,000, and then it didn't, and ended up going to 2,000, and then I ended up buying for the first time when it was at 1,800. And it was actually Ethereum that I was actually more interested in, because I've known about Bitcoin for a long time, but just not all the ins and outs, and wish I had somebody like me to sort of explain the broader use cases and implications. There's way more than just the fact that you can trade fake money back and forth. There's way more use cases to it, and you're probably going to have like stock exchanges in the future are probably going to be built off the blockchain. You're probably going to have like land, real estate, a lot of these guys at these major accounting firms are going to be out of jobs at some point, as blockchain is sort of like a really advanced accounting system. You learn in accounting classes, which I actually started off as an accounting major. You have a ledger, and what is Bitcoin? It's a open source ledger is what it really is. So there's going to be a lot of but the thing is, just because some jobs are going to be going away, okay, we don't need 9 bajillion paper pushers around the world, and so it's going to have a big impact on things going forward. And yeah, it can be manipulated, and yeah, it can be attacked, but I've got answers to all this stuff. Okay, what if a government comes in and decides it's going to use all of its resources to try to attack the Bitcoin blockchain? Okay, yeah, could that happen? Yeah. So let's say China or the US government spends like $1 trillion on mining infrastructure and starts getting all these miners together and starts attacking the Bitcoin network. I mean, it's possible where they could roll back the blockchain and say, okay, well, any transactions that happen after X date from these miners, we're just going to cut these miners out of the system and fork the chain. And so now the government would have spent a ton of money to accomplish nothing. Or what they would then do is it would then make the price of Bitcoin dramatically go up, at which point anyone that was hodling would be benefiting from that as well. And then if they wanted to, what's more realistic is that they could buy some with then the intent to dump it. So then if they then dumped it, then what would happen is, climbing up a little like off-road hill over here, but then if they did dump it, okay, well, now they're creating an artificially lower price temporarily, and then again, if your inclination isn't you want to buy more of it at a lower price, well then you shouldn't be in it to begin with. So, and that's sort of a dramatic oversimplification, because there's a whole lot of things you need to understand in terms of how Bitcoin's mined into existence, which again covered in that one video that I talked about. I also did a video with the CEO of the largest publicly traded mining company in the world about 3 years ago as well, that you can also find on there. So you've got all these different aspects of cryptocurrency that you need to know about in order to have a full understanding. And I was skeptical for a long time. My skepticalness cost me being retired right now, because I had overthought it and thought it was going to be a digital control grid where they track, trace, and surveilled everything. And they are going to take that technology and then they're going to apply it to like the dollar, where you're going to have a digital dollar, which now they're calling it a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. All the major central banks are talking about this. That is going to be a thing. It's happening. Pretty much not going to be able to stop it. I mean, I'm trying to stop it by getting out this information, but there's only a few people like me in the world, or I don't know if there's anybody exactly like me, but and I don't say that as a good thing, because I wish there were more, so that way I wouldn't have to be doing this. Honestly, it's not fun always being the bearer of some of this news. It's fun when you own Bitcoin and it's at 28,300. That's fun, but I'm not planning on selling it now anyway, so it doesn't matter, and I'm fine if it goes back down to 10 or 13, because now I've got some more money to be able to buy more of it. That's my attitude. And if you're 65, you might have a different strategy than if you're 25. And if you have guaranteed income coming in, or you got cash flow coming in from real estate, and you're all set there, and you've got money to play with, that's one thing, versus you've got someone who has no extra money, but that person can, even if you have no money, you have $25 that you're pissing away in Starbucks or doing something stupid with it. And honestly, I'm fine giving this out as this part out as financial advice. If you got $1,000, okay, well, if you lose it all, okay, well, you only had $1,000. You're already screwed. And you're probably going to waste it on something stupid anyways. Now, I don't think you should use it as emergency reserves. But to say I've got no money, well, everyone's got $25 to learn. how to do something. And so if you put, $25 in on Coinbase and you lose it, okay, you lost $25. And so, everyone's at a different level of understanding, but what you shouldn't do is you shouldn't just say, oh, I know nothing about Bitcoin except, sort of some young kids and some people that made a bunch of money and now I want to get into it, because, you don't know enough about it. You're going to freak out. You're going to sell at a bad time to do so, and you're going to get wrecked. And then the people that are complaining when it's, low, because there's so many people, I remember like the first time it was at 8,000, like, oh man, I wish it was, if it was ever at 3,000 or 4,000 again, I definitely, I would, I'm so upset I didn't get in. And then it will be at, then it was at 4,000 again. And some of these people, I remember telling them, like, hey, remember when you said that you were upset that you didn't get in? I'm like, well, you sort of got another chance to do so right now. And what are you doing? Are you getting in? And no, they're out there crapping their pants. And now I've got some of the same people that were reaching out to me in the 2018 bubble that are now reaching out to me again. But where this feels different this time is this time, in 2017, late 2017, 2018, well, yeah, you have like this altcoin mania. So this is cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin. They were in this like crazy, stupid mania. And then, which I didn't really participate in at all. There was a couple altcoins that I was in. And I, philosophically did, value what Bitcoin Cash was doing over Bitcoin, but I thought Bitcoin still, from an investment perspective, was still going to be better, just from a, being the brand name and realizing that, what I know is only what, even a lot of people in the crypto space don't necessarily know all the philosophical early Bitcoin stuff that I know. So knowing that other people don't know what I know, I need to and make my decisions based upon what they know, not what I know, but what I know would eventually impact that as well. But I guess, where I'm going at where it's different is, back in late 2017, now I don't have cable news now, so maybe it's a bad recommendation, but I just remember seeing, or a comparison, but I remember seeing nonstop articles about Bitcoin. People were calling me left and right at Bitcoin. And now, I'm getting people calling me about it, but not nearly as much as before. I feel like there's not nearly as much as that fear, uncertainty, or doubt, or FUD going on. There's not FOMO, or fear of missing out. That's not really seeing a ton of that relative to last time. But with that said, I'm fully expecting Bitcoin at some point to not keep adjusting my targets higher. But at this point, we'll probably be down at 14 or 15 again. Probably, we'll be down at 10 again. A month ago I thought so, but now I don't really know if it will be. But very likely it could be, and sort of hope it is, so that way I could pick up more of it. So I do feel it feels different, because now you just have like a fraction of this institutional money getting into it. Because as an advisor, aside from buying, a couple of the funds that are out there, which really isn't the best way to be holding on to it, it's not that easy. And to put it into an IRA where you're holding the private keys is super time consuming, hard to scale out, hard to do, and I'm not really promoting that side of the business, because I've got some guys now who I'm bringing on right now as we speak, who are going through licensing, who are going to be helping me out with that portion of the process. But that is something we can do for you as well. I just revamped the webpage, so thelibertyadvisor.com. You can find out more information on that. The site has been updated recently, so it looks a little bit snazzier now. But yeah, you're sort of gonna have to get on like a little waiting list to even have us do that, because we've got so many other things and other people that we're onto right now doing this sort of stuff. So that's one thing. But yeah, the institutional money, just like a fraction of this money has found its way into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like a $500 billion market cap or something like that. And actually, I think that's the crypto space. I think Bitcoin was like 350 or who knows, somewhere around there, 400. Anyway, somewhere between 350 and $500 billion market cap. And I guess it fluctuates so much that by the time this comes out, which will be very soon today, in hours. But even that will be somewhat old news by the time we get it. But yeah, it just passed Visa's market cap. And so, a lot of big things going on in the Bitcoin market. And I expect, that there's going to be more institutional money getting in here. I expect there's going to be more retail money getting in here, more people from oppressed countries getting in here, and just, we got half the world not even online right now. And as things like Starlink and other satellite systems bring internet to the entire world, and people are unbanked, maybe the first thing they do is they get a crypto wallet instead of getting a bank account, because they can't even prove they exist, so they can't get a bank account. So, I see this being, easily catching up to silver someday in terms of market cap. And I see it, someday probably getting, maybe even parity with gold, which would, I'm not sure where gold's at. I think it's like a $9 trillion market cap or something like that. I'm sort of just making that number up, but if you guys want to leave it below in the links, let me know. Anyways, we're looking at, 400 billion versus 9 trillion. It means it's got a lot of, but I think gold's going up too. So it could be two assets that are each worth like 100 trillion someday. I don't know. When you start printing money nilly-willy, really the sky's the limit in terms of what can go on. So, invest in education, invest in knowledge, invest in, things that will go up in a inflationary times, and some real assets that, can't be confiscated from, inflation. Because the more money we print, I think the better the use case gets for Bitcoin. Not to say that every time money's printed, it's automatically going to go up through the roof or anything, but on a long enough time horizon, I've been saying this now since, early 2017, that on video, on record, putting myself out there, was willing to basically lose a highly lucrative job over not shutting up about Bitcoin. That, I do think you guys should be looking into it. But anyways, that's it from Tim and Yoshi today. Almost done my walk. Gonna getting some work done today on a Sunday. We're doing actually a little bit of work every single day, because you can't have a strong 2021 unless you finish 2020 strong, and a lot of things that I need to catch up on with a lot of people. And so that's what we're going to be doing today, the rest of the week. We've got Josh coming in here in a couple days from World Alternative Media, coming to stay with me, so we'll have a lot of videos coming out. Didn't have a lot of videos coming out in December. A lot of it were older videos, but they were important. So with that video with Tina Marie that we just did, highly recommend you guys checking that one out, because her best friend was more than likely murdered. And so, and I got the very first interview in the world with her best friend, so make sure you definitely check that out. And then, I can just drawing blanks. A Jekyll Island Club video, that's where the Federal Reserve was created, and I showed exactly where the Federal Reserve was, where the plan was hatched. Did a little short travel documentary on that one, and then also did one on the Georgia Guidestones. So if you guys don't know about that, you definitely want to check that out. And you can do so now at the libertyadvisorshow.com, which has been all updated. There's still, obviously we still got room to go to improve things, but it does look a lot better than it did before. And thank you to everyone that's been helping me out on that website. Anyways, hope you guys had a Merry Christmas, and talk to you later. Take care.